happened this week is that we saw a bit of a cut through on the economic story that we haven't seen in the past. The media gave it a lot more attention than they ordinarily would have.
I think so, and I do think that the opposition was a bit stuck for words. I mean, Joe Hockey was actually physically stuck for words at his press conference, and in the end he said, oh, well, they're great numbers. Imagine how much better they'd be if we had a good government. It's sort of, if that's as good as they can do, you know, it was a bit of an indictment.
Yes, but Karen, you can imagine how much more confidence there would be if we did have a different government.
Well, I think if we had a majority government, there would be more confidence, and I think
yes.
The bottom line here, it's the thing that's affected consumer spending particularly, is that we've got this hung parliament. You have a government that is desperate to hang on and an opposition that is desperate to get in, and when everyone is that desperate, the volume is up, there's a great deal of hysteria, and it creates uncertainty and instability in the community.
But it hasn't stopped the economy from growing. I think what we've learned this week is that there's a lot of people, especially in our game, paying a lot of attention to politics. What people out there are doing, they tuned out a long time ago, and they're shopping. Yeah. They're not shopping to the extent they were because they're still saving, but because they're getting income, whereas most other people aren't getting income in the rest of the world, they're able to shop and whinge at the same time.
Yes, but George, they're shopping for the stuff that's at the checkout counter. They're not buying substantial objects. They're not buying property.
You tell me you've decomposed the national accounts in the last 24 hours. I can tell you, Piers, there's a lot of activity in the real economy.
Looking at the housing market, I'm telling you, George, you tell me where the housing market is booming.
Well, we don't want a housing market. No, I mean, you blow the country up.
We don't, but people are not.
Priced. We don't want them booming.
But people are not buying any property. And property has gone down, but they're not buying low price.
Glenn Stevens said that the day of easy money, as he called it, and that is easy money investing in housing and the share market, they're gone.
But and this is the point, and I did flavor, we'd also talk about the national mood. The important thing to bear in mind about the national mood is that Australian households are having their expectations reset down. And it's taken a number of years for the penny to drop in the real world. Now, remember, we kicked out a government at the top of the boom. One of the reasons why we kicked out the Howard government in 2007 was, and remember the quote that Kevin Rudd got the biggest cheer for during the campaign launch, this reckless spending must stop. People felt uncomfortable, especially once that Howard handout machine went into overdrive in 2007 with $1 billion here for a hospital and $10 billion there for the Murray-Darling Basin and record tax cuts. And then, by the way, we didn't bump Newspol with those tax cuts. We'll give you a second round of tax cuts. The Australian community, the federal government, i.e. the concept of the federal government as something that taxes and something that spends, everybody's resetting their expectations down. It makes people grumpy, but I'll tell you, this is the best position to reset community expectations down from a position of growth, because, like I say, imagine if you were trying to do this as a European. You look at the Australian fundamental and say, I'd love the opportunity to get back to surplus. I'd love a means-tested welfare system. They don't have means-tested welfare systems in most of Europe. I'd love the people to still be whinging because I could still do more with a population that whinges because they're in savings mode.
But now you get the Grattan Institute